Benji's birthday is just around the corner, so in this episode of Benji's Kitchen, you guessed it, we are making a birthday cake. As you might have noticed, Benji's not here to help me today, and that's because I want this cake to be a surprise. So you'll have to excuse his absence just this once. I've been thinking about this cake for a while now. It's his 5th birthday, which feels like a pretty big milestone, so I wanted to make something really special. I usually bake his cakes, but since he's raw-fed, I thought, why not try something with raw meat this time? After a lot of back and forth in my head, I finally had an idea. Benji is the most typical golden retriever. He absolutely adores water and he will take any chance he gets to jump in for a swim. So I thought a water-themed cake would be perfect. I could already picture it. Underwater scenes, colorful fish, all made with natural dog-safe ingredients. Now, I've never made anything like this before, so wish me luck. This will be my first ever underwater-themed raw dog birthday cake. You'll need roughly 750 grams of raw minced meat for the base, but you can use more or less than that. All depends on the size of the cake you want to make and as well as the size of your dog. You can use your dog's pre-made ground raw or buy lean minced meat at your local butcher. Also, if you don't want to use raw meat, you can use wet dog food or even soaked kibble with a bit of cooked minced meat, as it will work as well, I guess. Or you can even bake a cake and then sculpt it into the shape you want. For the jelly water, you will need 3 cups of bone broth or decaf green tea, 12 tablespoons of gelatin, and 1/4 teaspoon of blue spirulina powder. Again, you might need more or less, depending on the size of the cake you're making and how deep you want the water to be. So just treat this as estimates and adjust to your needs. I bought these cute water-themed silicone molds for decoration. These are optional, but I think they will make the cake look much better. I'll be using various colored veggies and goat's milk yogurt for the decorations. I was actually planning on using kefir, but funny story, Benji and I drank it last night and it won't be until tomorrow until a new batch is ready, so we're going with yogurt instead. But if you have kefir, use it. Also for the decoration, I'll be using a few teaspoons of the nutritional powder mixed with ground turmeric to create this yellow sand-like powder that I will use for our beach. For trees, I blanched a few of the broccoli florets and our green supplement is going to be our grass. We will also need a round cake tin, some baking paper and a roll of clear acetate sheets. Let's start with the base. Form the meat into the seafloor with some underwater trenches and islands sticking above the water. There is no right or wrong way of doing this, so be creative. I want to add some hills and a beach on one side and a little island in the middle, but you can do whatever you want. So let's get to it. And see, you don't have to use raw meat for this part. You can use wet or cooked meat or even bake an actual cake and then sculpt it out the way you want. So whichever option you choose, I'm sure you can make it work. Once you finish, put the base in the freezer for at least 30 minutes so it has a chance to harden a bit. In the meantime, we'll prepare a few different veggie purees for the molds. I'll be using cooked beetroots, carrots, broccoli and spinach, as well as yogurt. I want to use broccoli and spinach as they are both green, but broccoli will be slightly lighter, so I'll have 2 shades of green for the seaweed. Just remember to blend them separately and then fill the molds with the puree. Once you finish, stick them in the freezer for a few minutes to set. You might have to do it a few times depending on how many decorations you want to make, but the good news is they set within like 10 to 20 minutes, so it's not too bad. Before I blended my broccoli, I also put aside a few broccoli florets for my trees, so don't forget about this little step. Okay, back to our cake. Let's prepare the water. To do that, boil a kettle and make bone broth. I'm using our brothy dehydrated bone broth for dogs, but you can also use homemade one or decaf green or herbal tea instead. Once cooled a little, stir in the blue spirulina powder. Start slow and don't add too much because you don't want the water to be really dark. I find that like adding just tiny little bit of the powder will be enough. Mix in as much as you need and stop once you have the color that you like. And lastly, stir in the gelatin and mix until it dissolves. Take the base out of the freezer and let's wrap the acetate sheet around it. I'll be using the original side of the tin to make it even more secure. Start adding your decorations inside. I'll add a few shells now, and once the gelatin sort of sets up a little bit more, I'll put in some fish so that it looks more like they are swimming and don't end up on the bottom. Oh, just look at how cute these little shells are. Before I pour the gelatin in, I'll also wrap it in cling film just in case. Okay, so our base looks like this, and let's put some gelatin inside. Gently pour in the water mix and transfer to the fridge for a few minutes. Keep checking on it and remove to add the fish once the consistency is not as watery anymore. Once the water has settled and formed a jelly, remove your cake from the fridge. Okay, let's finish decorating the cake. I'll stick the seaweed and some shells to the sides and then make the part above the water a little bit more interesting using the turmeric powder, green supplement, broccoli florets and yogurt. Okay, I've got the final cake ready. What do you think? I love it, and I'm sure Benji will too. So I'm going to stick it in the fridge for now and wait until he's up from his nap to give it to him. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.